Good morning. It is November 15th, opening day of Michigan's firearms season, so I always say I'm a bow hunter at heart for sure, but opening day of gun is definitely one of my favorite days. Look forward to it every year. Just an awesome time to be in the woods, a lot of fun. So it's a little bit over an hour after light right now. Had some pretty steady action at first light, so didn't get into the interview until now, but we've had a few small does out in the field as it got light. They ended up working right past me, and as they were going by me, behind them, some does were on the other side of the river crossing. I just barely caught a glimpse of them as they got into some of the brush and stuff, which is about 170 or so out from me. And as I caught a glimpse of them, a buck that looked like a decent buck jumped the fence. There's a pasture fence there, and kind of joined in with them. So that was a little bit of excitement for a minute there. And then after that, a 3-point came out and walked just right like we're hoping a big one does. So we're in a funnel. This is actually the same spot or same area, same funnel that my son shot his doe last year, as well as his buck just a couple weeks ago. So it's a good spot, and hopefully it'll stay good today. We'll see what happens.
Well, part of the risk of sitting all day is that you do have some slow times in the middle of the day. This year that was the case. Midday was pretty slow. Saw the last year for the morning was around 11 o'clock as my neighbors were heading up. The deer kind of bumped by them. After that, middle of the day, I ate some lunch and watched. There was a hawk that was flying around and, picking up his lunch. And I watched some eagles that were flying around. But luckily, after that slow midday, the deer action picked up pretty quick in the afternoon.
Well, it's a little bit after 4 o'clock right now. So we got like an hour and 40 minutes or so till dark. And we've got 8 deer out here now. They're kind of in the brush and in the far off in this taller weeds and stuff. They're hard to pick up with the camera, but there's 8 of them out. So that's a good sign. They're all does. Unfortunately, no bucks with them, but it's a good sign they're starting to move early. So hopefully we'll have some action here as the evening winds out.
Well, after that first shot, I didn't see it, but you can see it very clearly in the video. As that deer runs off, you can see that his front left leg is obviously hit. In live time, I didn't even notice that, to be honest. There was about 13 other deer in that field. They all kind of took off, and in the chaos, I ended up having to switch windows to get back on that deer. And when he finally did stop, he was quartering away from me. So I waited a minute to see if he was going to drop, took another shot. He dropped right there on the second shot, which I didn't have him in frame. I was more focused on just taking care of business at that point. But you'll hear me say in these interviews that I thought I missed him on the first shot, and I really did. When I walked up to him, which you'll see here in a little bit, his that shoulder I noticed then was messed up, but with the quartering away angle on that second shot, I just assumed that my second shot had gone through and hit that shoulder on the way out. So I really didn't realize until I went back and looked at the video that I did hit him with that first shot. And after looking at it, it almost looks like the bullet almost went kind of into his armpit, if that makes sense. And it blew that shoulder apart, but I don't think it got in enough to do the damage that would have been needed. So I'm glad I put that second shot in him, which you'll hear off screen here in a second.
I don't know how much of that ended up on video, but there's a buck down out there. I don't know if I missed him the first time or what, but he ran and just stopped right in the middle of the field and gave me another shot. So I held it on him thinking he was going to drop, and he didn't. So I put another one in him, and then he dropped. But there was deer running everywhere because there was 13 does out there. So that was the chaos. I'm glad he came out, though, because I was a little worried that I was going to get kind of pinned in here if I didn't get a buck in here, because I didn't want to spook those does by coming out of this blind. So I spooked him, but I'll take that. So it's still light. I know he's down. We're going to walk out there, take a look at him. Looks like he fell in the water. We ain't gonna complain about that none.
Here he is. We got him out of that field, and over here we're gonna get him cleaned up and hung up. But just a fun hunt. You know, I sat all day today, and towards the end of the day that field started to really fill up with does. There's 13 does out there, and I was texting my brother-in-law asking him how come we were seeing all these does and no bucks, and no sooner than I said that, this guy came in along the fence. He was kind of running the edge of the woods looking at the does out in the field, and eventually he started to jumped on that fence and came out into the field. And I don't know, looking at him, I must have missed him on the first shot. I'm not really sure what happened there, but he ran and stopped in the middle of the field. There was deer running everywhere, and in the chaos he stopped at about 105 yards, and he was kind of twisted up looking. I thought he might go down, and he stood there for another couple seconds, and you know, I had a good look at him, so I just figured I better put another one in him, and I did, and he dropped right there. So that was that. But nice buck, probably 2.5-year-old, nice tall 8-point. So real happy with him. Like I said, we'll get him cleaned up and hung up, and just a good conclusion to opening day of gun season here in 2021. I'm glad to see a lot of deer. I may have seen this buck in the morning, I'm not sure. I saw a pretty nice white colored rack jump the fence and go with a bunch of does into some thick stuff, and I just caught a quick glimpse, and when those does started coming back out, I was hoping maybe he'd be with them, and this buck was. So here he is, all said and done. He'll be a good one, and couldn't be much happier. Been a great day, and hopefully this is the start. Good rest of the season. Lots of does out there. I saw 13. My brother-in-law saw 6. I think my father-in-law saw another 12. None of those are you know, crossed over. Those are all independent does, so we'll be shooting some does for sure here in the next couple weeks. But yep, should be a fun gun season. We're off to a good start. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon. Take care.